Marcus, I'm excited to talk to you. Blood and Honey 2 is coming out. I was actually at the LA premiere for the original Blood and Honey,
Wow.
which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I had a good time. In that film, you actually get to play Colt. Uh,
Mm,
in this film, you're playing Owl. Uh,
mm.
what is the difference for you in kind of showing your face versus playing behind a mask? What's the difference
Well,
out there?
that's a fantastic question. I mean, obviously, I've known Scott and Reese over several feature films over a few years. Things like Dinosaur Hotel 2, Dinosaur Hotel 3, Dinosaur Prison, Shockwaves, Three Blind Mice, and The Killing Tree, which is a Christmas film of a killer Christmas tree, and I'm the tree. But also, so of course they knew me very well. I mean, they cast me in the first film as Colt, and in actual fact, I was originally going to be a news reporter in there, and but then the schedules changed around. They shifted around various things, and then it's like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to have these rednecks and and I'm specifically a champagne drinking redneck. It's not any kind of redneck,
Right.
and because of course it's much more exciting to smash him over the head with a champagne bottle than it is with a can of beer. Uh, but but uh, but of course I'm not giving anything away really by saying I die. That's not giving anything away, is it? There's no spoilers there. And so of course, if Colt is dead, then this is dead. Although not necessarily. But Owl, of course, has a full face prosthetic. He looks like a rather evil character. Here he is, in actual fact. Now
Okay.
you don't get to look like this because you've had a happy, calm, and beautiful life. It's he's had struggle and pain throughout his life, and that's why he looks like this. That's why he's in a bad mood. And in order for that, I had this latex prosthetic, which is put on my face. And it's very thin latex, which is literally glued on. So then it moves with your face as you talk. And I didn't really appreciate what that was going to be like. Although now I've got a completely new appreciation for people like Michael Dorn in Star Trek, uh, who have to wear this because it really does get quite uncomfortable after the first 7 or 8 hours. And it's not just glued to your face in a way that it just moves because of course your whole nose, all of your nose is glued in, so you can't breathe through your nose, and so therefore drinking is a challenge. Eating is a challenge because every time you have a bite, you have to quickly chew it and swallow it before you can actually breathe again. And of course, because it's latex, it gets hot and you start perspiring, which then fills up this nose cavity with fluid, and and you can imagine what that's like for 12 or 13, 14 hours. It's very uncomfortable.
Do you
But
go?
that's great for Owl because Owl is not a sort of bird who's in a good mood for much of the time. And so, and so you can use that frustration and and the fact that you can't blooming breathe. Okay, you can use that as as part of the frustration and hatred that comes from Owl. Yes. So that's what it was like. It took about an hour and a half, 100 minutes to get in, and about half an hour to take it off.
Wow. So how much of
Mm.
your experience would you say was sitting in a chair just getting prosthetics taken on and off?
Well, the first time it happened, it was on day one on my day one. I didn't know what to expect, and but I have to say that the two people who were helping me, who were the prosthetics geniuses, and they really are not only geniuses, but they are lovely. Paula and Sean, they have worked on some very, very big films. They've got BAFTAs in their pocket. They are seriously good, but they're also lovely, lovely people. And so it's so easy when you've got the warmth like that around you.
I was gonna say it seems like with this film, the leap from the first film to the sequel here, the production design, the production in general feels a little bit more mature, a little bit
Mm.
more impressive. Um, what was your take going from the first film to this film? Do you feel that kind of larger production value going into it as well?
Without a doubt, it's a step up in a number of ways. To be fair, the first film was not actually originally planned for cinema. It was planned for streaming and straight to DVD, as has many of the previous films been over the years. But this caught the imagination, and then it was there on cinema screens, and it. I mean, Pooh and Piglet, they were a little bit rubber masky, and everybody realised that. But the fact is, it was done on a shoestring budget, and it was not meant for the sort of distribution that it eventually got. But I think that the passion that the producers and the directors put into it, and the thrill of making this sort of film still came through. The joy of that, and I think audiences took to that. And so for this second film, the audience deserved a bigger budget, and they have certainly got it. You can see it in every aspect of the film. It's not just the the far superior prosthetics for the characters, but it's the bigger, better, and more exciting locations, more fantastic shots. We've got a big star in Simon Callow, who, I mean, I mean, he's been a big star since Merchant Ivory. There, he was in. I think you would all know him from Four Weddings and a Funeral, and so I mean, he's been a big star for decades. He's in it. He wouldn't lend his talent to something which he didn't deserve, which he felt didn't deserve it, and 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 the entire story. There's more than one story. There's several stories intertwined, several threads of the story, several reasons why these creatures are so frustrated and annoyed. We have the obvious one, which is the same one as before, which is, of course, Christopher Robin said he loved them. He cared about them. He'd always look after them. He'd never, they'd always be together. And of course, at the first opportunity, he abandons them. So they are betrayed. They're abandoned. They've got the hatred and the frustration because they had to look after themselves. They weren't equipped for it, and they had to go feral to survive, which is never a good thing for anybody. And then, of course, you've got this other thing, which is, what do humans do to the animals of the planet, including other humans? They disrespect them. They promise them things and then betray them. And they say they're going to do things and they don't do them. As far as these animals are concerned, it's 100-acre wood. We can chop the trees down. We can start building. But what do the animals live there? What are they going to do? Fight back? Well, they either die or they make a stand and perhaps die anyway. But they have to make a stand because humans treat animals like that all the time, whilst at the same time saying they care about animals. So and this is just touching on the surface. There's all sorts of surprises and threads in this story which are going to, and it's not just the story. There's also fantastic, memorable moments for you as well to take away. Dramatic, fantastic moments.
Well, and you were saying earlier, you've done these two Blood and Honey films. You also did Three Blind Mice. Before that, you were in the Tooth Fairy, Queen of Pain as well.
Yes.
And so, what do you think psychologically is our fascination with taking children's stories and turning them into something that feels more adult, maybe even horror? And also, on top of that, what kind of story would you love to see adapted into something more mature, something more of a horror film?
Right. Yes. Well, that's a great question. But I'll start by saying that actually a number of these fairy stories were originally incredibly dark in the first place. They were meant to train children into realizing that when they grow up, which was earlier than it is these days, they are that the world is filled with danger, and not to take situations on face value. People say things to you, and they actually pretend they like you, but actually they have different sort of agendas, and so that's what these stories were all about in the first place. So that is so so taking what is regarded as an innocent story and turning it dark is actually going back to the way it originally was. So there's that. I think. I mean, I would love. You know, these witches in the woods who live in in. I think it's. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure about it. I think it's a Russian fairy tale. I mean, it's some witch who lives in a house that walks around on chicken's legs, and so it moves and into different places, and that always used to horrify me. And of course, I think that there is a lot that can be made out of a Little Red Riding Hood and and a wolf monster.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Obviously, you'd want to play the wolf, right?
Oh yes, 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 yes. And of course, I mean, like, yeah, because of course, I mean, in the story, the wolf, it just becomes the grandmother. But of course, the wolf can morph into all sorts of things, because I'm sure it wouldn't be a normal wolf. I mean, it's a talking wolf for a start. But but the point is that if it can talk, I'm sure it can do all sorts of other things.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
wreaking terror.
I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing Blood and Honey too. I look forward to having a good time with it. So I appreciate the time, and
Oh, it's absolutely lovely to meet you. And when you came up on the list, and what did I said, I'll be there, and yes, and I love it. Yes, I'll be there. I'll by myself.